Hello, Seiiti Arata. Waking up and checking your phone and being stuck in traffic jams, going to work, then working and getting stuck in traffic jams, coming back home, checking your phone, sleeping, waking up and doing it all again as in a distracted way, as if you are in an autopilot. When you are on autopilot, you're performing actions in a low level of awareness. On autopilot, you can make poor quality choices and later regret it. The solution to get out of autopilot is mindfulness. Being fully aware means that you have the ability to know what's going on in your head at any given time without letting your automatic thoughts control you. Autopilot is being at a low level of awareness, and this makes us inattentive to something that is really important. The problem with the low level of awareness is that we don't realize that we're making bad choices. To live unconsciously is to be unaware. It is to be inattentive to something important. Let's look at 3 different examples to illustrate. The first example is when you're there watching your favorite TV show, it's very late, and then suddenly it looks like it's very late, it's past your bedtime. You are unconscious about the time. You're watching your shows on autopilot, one episode after another, and then you stopped being aware of something important, what time it was. The second example is when you're playing with your children, but you're thinking about a problem for work. Then you are on autopilot. You're not fully present. And this autopilot makes you stop paying attention to your own children. It makes you stop experiencing the moment fully. When you least realize it, your child has grown up. You regret that childhood passed so fast that you didn't even notice. In this case, the important thing is to live with your children, which you missed because you were being on autopilot. The autopilot removes the necessary awareness between stimulus and reaction. Here is the third example that shows that living in autopilot means reacting without thinking. And this increases our suffering. It increases our stress. Imagine that you receive an unwanted call from a company doing telemarketing. And as soon as you realize this is a company offering you a product, a service that you are not interested in, you try to hang up, but the person on the other side keeps insisting. Well, but there's another thing I want to tell you. And right now, in the face of this stimulus, you will have a thought that this situation makes you nervous. And your autopilot will then initiate reaction, and this will lead you into a really nervous emotional state. And if you go on autopilot, you can also change your tone of voice, you can hang up, you can even be upset for a few minutes later. You may even become rude to a colleague or a friend of you who's around you, has nothing to do with that story. And then you're going to later need to apologize and say, oh, I'm so sorry. I was nervous because I got this telemarketing call. In this case, the autopilot has damaged something important, which is your emotional well-being, and also caused a little bit of stress in your relationship with other people. If you live on autopilot, you have less freedom, and you will react immediately to external stimuli. When you cultivate mindfulness, everything around you seems more manageable. Life looks like a river in which you can navigate. You can lead life with mindfulness to reduce your automatism and reduce your suffering. Think of life as a river with a current. If you fall in the river, you must first understand what is the nature, what is the strength of the current. Perhaps you have the strength to go against the weak current and then get out of the river in the same place where you fell. But you cannot try to swim against the current if the current is stronger than you. Trying to swim against the current will only waste your breath, waste your strength. There are times when you need to know how to swim along the current with patience, knowing how to identify the next place in that river where you can cling to some nearby tree branch. You can ask for help from someone who's walking nearby. You may have to save yourself in an islet temporarily to gain some strength. Some people call this equanimity, other people call it mindfulness. You can be a little more mentally free every day, leading life with the least friction and the least suffering possible. Mindfulness is a method to help people eliminate the suffering that is created by automatism and the conditioning of the human mind. And this is important because there is a strong connection between our mind and our health. A large part of the diseases that we're facing today are initiated or made worse because of stress. And stress is preventable, it is optional. You can choose to live with less stress using mindfulness tools to overcome your mental suffering. How to have more attention on a daily basis. When we talk about mindfulness, many people immediately think of meditation, of some Zen people with their legs crossed and their spine erect, in absolute silence, doing something like "oh." But this is only part of a specific practice. Of course, it is important, but it's just a training. The real game is maintaining that state of attention on your daily basis. And to maintain this state of mindfulness, we must first realize, we have to notice reality. If I am physically in one place, but my attention is elsewhere, I am divided. I'm not realizing what I'm doing, and what I'm doing loses quality because I just don't pay attention to the activity that I'm performing. I'm washing dishes and I am thinking about work. Then I'm walking to work and I'm thinking about some fantasy, which I'm scolding my boss. So I'm never really aware, really in the present moment. Meditation is a training of attention. Meditation has several beneficial effects for getting off autopilot. When we are meditating, we're training our mind to pay attention to the present moment. We sit in a comfortable position and in a peaceful environment, and then we begin to pay attention to a specific point, usually our own breathing. And a few seconds later, our mind is already thinking about something else. That's normal. When we realize this, gently we can bring the mind back to that specific point. And then the cycle is repeated because the mind is like an agitated little monkey that jumps from one branch to another branch. And with training and with practice, we can manage to keep this attention focused for a little bit longer. And we manage to take that into the real world. We pay more attention to what we're really doing, to what others are telling us, to our own feelings. In other words, we leave the autopilot. Mindfulness is the way out of this autopilot. It is to activate your attention without making judgments, without mental comments, without suffering because we are in one place and our mind is in another place. Observe more, judge less. Practice observing an object without judging. Look at an object, for example a flower. You can simply observe the flower. You can even see all the details of how some petals are more open, others are more closed, how some leaves are smooth, other leaves can have some marks because they have been bitten by some insect. Observe, but don't judge. To judge is to say that the flower is ugly because it's dying, because those damn insects were spoiling the flower that could be perfect. That is judging. When I'm watching, I don't want to make comments or judgments. I'm just watching. Then that's an activity of immense value for your peace of mind. You can observe the flower without having to say, "Oh, what a beautiful flower. Oh, I think I have to give more water to the flower. Oh gosh, what a pity that the insects are eating part of the leaf. How sad that the flower is dying." These are all judgments that we're not going to do in this mindfulness exercise. You can even make this kind of judgment later, consciously, another time, but first, we're just training to be observing. Can you do that? So don't watch me just speaking here passively. Have a pause now. Choose some object and then observe. You can experience what it is like to just observe without comment. Depending on the amount and intensity of thought flow that you have, perhaps this is going to be the first time after a long time that your mind will just observe without judging, without commenting. Did you like the activity? You can do this exercise of observation without judgments with anything. It can be a person, an object, an event, and mainly a thought or emotion of yours. Whenever you find yourself judging or evaluating, you don't have to be angry. Just realize that you were judging, and then go back to just watching, just observing. And that makes the judgment go away. After practicing observing objects without judging, now you can observe your life without judging. Observe your life. You completed your studies in that year, and then you started working at company X, and then you met a special person, and today you wake up at this particular time, you eat these foods, you do physical activities during these days of the week. This is just watching. And then when a thought like, "Oh gosh, I'm so fat, I should stop eating sweets," appears in your head, you can understand. This is a judgment. And in our activity, we're just observing, but we're not judging. Over time, you'll see that most of these thoughts don't get us anywhere. They're just like background voices, like always having a radio always on. Just let that judgment go. Just observe. Observe for a moment this movement in your head without judgment, without having to say that whatever it is that you're thinking is good or bad. It is just perceiving. And this may be the clearest and most practical definition of mindfulness. A moment when I observe that river of automatic thinking in my head, and by observing, I leave the river. This is not being apathetic, it's not being submissive with what we don't like. Of course, you can make plans to improve your diet. Of course you can and you must act in order to pursue your goals. In this activity of observation and full presence, we're going to be learning how to not be controlled by the thoughts of autopilot with judgment. Just pause the video now and do the activity so you can feel how it is. Congratulations, we are in a learning process, working on a skill that you can observe without making comments, making your mind much more calm, living in greater harmony with your own thoughts without letting your thoughts overwhelm you or just cause you anxiety. Just wash the dishes. There is an ancient Asian text that says that while you wash the dishes, you should only wash the dishes. At first that may seem a little bit silly. Why give so much importance to such a small, simple thing? The problem is that if we wash the dishes and think about the cup of coffee we're going to enjoy afterwards, the task of washing the dishes becomes a burden. We will automatically try to clean the dishes in a hurry to get rid of this hassle. And what's more, we're not going to be alive during the time we're going to be doing the dishes. We will be unable to recognize the miracle of life while we're there, in front of the kitchen sink. And if we're not able to wash the dishes just by washing them, it is unlikely that we're going to be able to fully enjoy that next cup of coffee, because when we do it, we're going to be thinking about other things, unaware that we have a cup of coffee in our hands. In this way, we're going to be sucked out of the present moment. We're going to be unable to live in full, even for a minute. We're always thinking about what we're going to be doing next. Living in the present moment is the most practical, quick, and easy way to get out of the autopilot, and thus suffer less and have more happiness. This can be our first exercise. Just watch, see, realize that our head is all day long like a radio that keeps transmitting that noise, and no matter how much we change channels, we always hear a voice that takes our mind into a place that is not the present moment. We're not looking for anything special to happen. We're not wanting to stop the thoughts. We're not even wanting to be happier. We're simply observing. Perhaps for the first time realizing that there is this river of thoughts that does not stop, and that we can at any moment observe them as they are. You can be happier when you learn to get out of the river of the uncontrolled thoughts, and for that I invite you to visit arata.se/happiness.